Finally! Gen 8 Pokemon. It's about time we come back to this series. Just listen to how different my voice is compared to the first one we did.
A weeping bellflower. Hitting monster based on Bruce Lee. Butterfly. Free from pod.
Dang. So, Pokemon names are obviously made up of multiple words combined. Sometimes these words are even from different languages. And most of the names are pretty straightforward. I mean, Yungoos, it's a young mongoose. Charmander, from char and salamander. But then, some names are more complicated and have multiple inspirations all overlapping on top of each other. And this etymology is what we hope to explain in this series. So let's get started on Generation 8. And we start with grass, grove, groovy, monkey, and key, referring to its use in music. Thwack, monkey, key. Gorilla and boom, referring to the deep booming sounds coming from its drum. And when you send out this Pokemon or cheer for it, you say, "Go, Rillaboom!" Gorilla, boom. Bunny, scorch, and score, as in to get a point in a sport. Rabbit, boot, or foot. Perhaps the double O is also from snood, as that's what it's wearing. And to boot something is to kick it, like a soccer ball. Cinder, race, ace, and disgrace. That last one was a joke. Sob, as in to cry, and bubble. Drizzle, which is when it's raining just a bit, and reptile. Intel, which is short for intelligence, which is what spies gather, and chameleon. Blip, as in the blip on a radar, and bug. Dot, as in the dot on a radar, and Doppler, referring to the Doppler effect, which is used in radar technology. Orb, beetle, orbit, and thus orbital, like satellites with radar. Rook, kid, rookie, and chickadee. Notably, chickadees are corvids. Corvid and squire, which is a knight's assistant or a knight in training. Corvid, knight. Squirrel, covet, which is to want something really badly. Also, Skwovet sounds much more like the British pronunciation of squirrel, as opposed to the American one. Squirrel, squirrel, Skwovet, greedy rodent, and possibly dental, since squirrels are known for their teeth. A British way of saying to steal it is to nick it. Also, a kit is a baby fox. Thief and vulps, which is the scientific name for the red fox. Also, an interesting spelling of evil, as it's a dark, suave thief. Obstacle, goon, which is a thug with little intelligence. And to continue from the rest of the line, raccoon, even though it's a badger. Wool and loom, which are the tools used to turn wool into yarn. Dubwool, it sounds like double. Dubwool, double wool. Because, you know, it has more wool and in more colors. There's a double amount of wool. Turtle, that chews. Dread, gnaw, and dreadnought, a warship. Scamper, meaning to run around with quick light steps and excitement. Ampere, a measurement of electricity. And yap. Bolt, hound, bloodhound. The Gossypium is the genus of plants that cotton is found in, and fleur is French for flower. It also looks like a gossiper too, doesn't it? Elder Gossypium. Old ladies like their gossiping too. Sizzle millipede, and lipbrow or lip sweater, lip foliage, all slang for mustache. Centipede scorch, roly-poly, and coal. Car or cart, coal, and charcoal. Colossal and coal. Arrow barracuda, barracuda skewer. Purr berserker. Milk, sorcery, and maybe mercury, the liquid metal that moves quite like this Pokemon and has all sorts of magical properties in alchemy, since alchemy is referenced in its evolution's name after all. Cream alchemy. It's in an apple. Also, lindworm, or the worm of Linton, a green British worm dragon that lives inside of hills. It's an apple that flaps its wings, made of apple. It's an apple turnover, and tun is an Old English suffix meaning enclosure, house, or dwelling. This guy's made a home out of an apple turnover. Also, similar to how Applin is in an apple, Appltun is under the apple. And it got fat, so it weighs like a ton. Sir, which is what you would say to summon a knight, and fetched, as it went and fetched its weapons. Coral, solar, as they absorb sunlight. Curse, soul, as in a spirit, and soul, as in a piece of coral. Imp, wimp, and impede or impediment, meaning to hinder something or get in the way. morbid, morg, and grem is Old English and Old German for to anger or enrage, referencing what it and its previous evolution do. And this old word eventually became the modern word grim. More grim. Also, gremlin. And Morgan Le Fay. Morgan is a famous witch from the tales of the King Arthur mythos. She was famous for using fey creatures to mess with King Arthur, including a fey green knight who kneels to King Arthur as part of a trick, which Morgrim's Pokedex also mentions it doing. And it's part green, and it evolves into a big green thing, and deep origins! Video about all that here. Grim, meaning forbidding or uninviting, and also written like the Brothers Grimm, famous fairy tale writers, and Snarl. Hat, antenna, and is a feminine suffix. Hat, hatter, trim, tremble, tremolo, which is when a single note oscillates. It's quite beautiful and serene. Hat, hatter, and serene, which is used as a term of respect for members of some European royal families. Also, when a scene is serene, it is peaceful, beautiful, and quiet. So quiet. Cup, referring to its tiny scooper. Elephant, and also, Cu is the symbol for the element of copper. But there's also cuff, meaning the end of a sleeve. Elephant trunks are basically arms, right? Especially if they were to get fingers, like this Pokemon's evolution, which gets its name from copper, and Maharaja, which is an Indian king or prince, and Saja is Sanskrit for elephant. It's a cormorant that crams food in its mouth. Toxic electricity. Toxic toxicity electricity. Silicon, which is commonly found in sand, and cobra. Sand and anaconda. Rune, ruin, and egregious, meaning especially bad and archaic. Sinister T. T. Poltergeist. Indeed, which is a stereotypical thing for a British butler or maid to say. Same with indubitably. And well, this Pokemon has two variants, and has two Ds in the name. Speaking of which, as a name, Indeedee is of Welsh and Latin origin, and means some interestingly opposing things, like pleasure, delight, divine, but also sorrow, broken-hearted, and swarthy. Japanese for hungry guinea pig. They link up to flank the enemy in a phalanx formation. Snow, nom, the onomatopoeia for eating. Frost, moth, and that T's missing for a reason, osmosis, as reverse osmosis is used in the process of freeze drying. Clobber octopus. Grapple octopus. Sea urchin, pincushion, cur, meaning a lowly, cowardly fellow. Mr., mime, rhyme, and rime, which is the frost formed on things by rapid freezing of water vapor. Stone and sojourner, which is Old French for to stay in a place temporarily, and thus a sojourner is someone who does that. They're a transient. A corruption, meaning a misspelling of, ice cube, and possibly askew, meaning crooked or to have disdain. I mean, you broke its poor ice cube, the poor thing, it hates you. Durable, duralium, and the suffix don means tooth, but is super common in dinosaur names. These four fossil Pokemon are various combinations of various parts. Arct comes from Arctic, Draco comes from Draconic, Vish from Fish, and Zolt from Zap and Bolt. Creepy dragon. Cloaked Draken, which is just another type of dragon in fantasy. Dragon, catapult, as in the catapults that launch jets. When you say the English word the with a strong Japanese accent, it sounds like za, and then we have corruptions of cyan and magenta, and this methodology for coming up with these names was confirmed in an interview. The magenta, the cyan, Zacian, Zamazenta. Eternal, eternity, tornado, natus, Latin for born, Eternatus, Latin for immortalize, and Thanatos, the Latin transliteration of Thanatos, Greek god of death. So, overall, these names are pretty good. A bit on the standard side for Pokemon. Some gens had a lot better, more interesting names. But then other gens are just filled to the brim with nothing but very baseline names. I'd say Gen 8 is a pretty okay mix of the two. And of course, I assume more Pokemon are going to be revealed as time goes on. Mythical and mid-gen Pokemon and such. So you'll just have to wait for those. When they do get revealed, I'll cover them in their own videos, or just mention their name origins on my Twitter. So follow that, at Loxton. And also, please consider supporting this channel by checking out our merch store, Gnoggin.net. Super cool. And thanks a million. And until next time, you never stop using your noggin.